So, pretty excited about this. We both were excited by the trailer, thought it had a lot of good stuff to offer, so we're going to kind of go through it scene by scene. So, starting with the opening, which is at the Senate hearing, we now have it confirmed that Holly Hunter's playing this senator, and they have Superman there to answer for the events of Man of Steel. So, what do you think of this Senate hearing and Superman kind of swooping in to appear there?
I think it's a really good start for the movie. It really sets up how you can divide the people that are behind Superman and against Superman, and it really sets the stage for what the title of the movie is, Batman versus Superman.
And I think it's nice to not just have, a continuation of events, but to actually have like repercussions for what happened in the previous movie. I think this is kind of a newer, deeper, more realistic way to even have a universe where it's not just like, oh yeah, remember that stuff that happened before? It's like, no, we still need to answer for and explain, and people are still dealing with the stuff that happened before.
Yeah, it's always cool to see realism used well in a far-fetched realm of comic books, right?
I think it's also setting up some good stuff. So they had the crowds protesting outside the Senate hearing.
Yeah.
And so then now it makes me think about the politicians inside. Are the politicians genuinely like holding Superman responsible and saying you're guilty for the stuff that happened? Or are the politicians kind of in a bind because there are crowds of people chanting, that this is an alien, he needs to go home? Politicians might just be making a show of, we need to have this hearing so that I can tell my constituents that I'm really holding Superman's feet to the fire.
Yeah,
so I think there can be those dynamics too, making it a little bit more complex.
Well, for sure, and using it just to get votes and things like that as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So I mean, those dynamics could come into play. So I think that's right. Off to a good start. I think also seeing Superman alone, there's all these eyes on him, and he's standing there by himself. So I think that's really a compelling kind of image as well.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
So then after that, we cut to the Metropolis wreckage, which is from Man of Steel, and now we have it confirmed, as we kind of knew from the set footage, that Bruce Wayne was there in Metropolis, and he had a Wayne Financial building that was part of the wreckage. So what did you make of these shots of Bruce Wayne there in Metropolis?
Awesome. Like, to me, this is the story that I wanted that was kind of absent from the other trailer, that makes it believable why he is so angry at what happened in Man of Steel. The part where it shows him running into that smoke is very reminiscent of 9/11. It's very hits home with people that have seen this kind of stuff. So they're obviously playing up on that angle with Batman, and I think it's really cool. It's an angry Batman we've seen before, but not in this way.
Yeah, I think it shows the anger, and that's a big part, where he's lost his parents, he's lost Robin, so we'll see that a little bit later. And now he's lost employees, and it feels like, this is really striking close to home. So that can lead to this anger, and he might be putting that blame onto Superman. But that shot of him running into the smoke that you mentioned, I think it gets at an even deeper motivation that Batman has to be the antagonist for Superman.
Yeah.
And that's like this feeling of powerlessness, to use the word from the first trailer.
Sure.
Or I would say, too, like this feeling of emasculation. Because I think Bruce Wayne and Batman, he's kind of on top of the world. I think he always feels very potent and powerful. But that long shot as he's running toward the smoke, first of all, it's really compelling because he's going towards this destruction. Everybody else is running away from it, obviously.
Right, yeah.
But he's running towards it. If you watch that shot, he starts out like Bruce Wayne, like, I'm going to go do something about this. I need to take action. And as he gets to the smoke, his shoulders kind of drop. And the way I read his body language is he's kind of like, what the heck am I going to do?
That's
I'm powerless
true.
in this situation.
Yeah.
These Kryptonians and this destruction is so much beyond what I can control and what I can handle, that it's this emasculation that I think is also going to be this tension between him and Superman. It's kind of like showing that, Batman, before now, you were kind of the number one alpha dog. Now there's these powers that are so much farther beyond that I think he has kind of some of these issues of emasculation. I think that fuels part of the rage as well.
Yeah, those are all good points, and we know definitely Batman's got a lot of issues.
Yeah, and I think that some of them might be more intense in this version of Batman than in anything we've seen previously.
Which will be cool, because they need to make a way to differentiate it from the Nolan films, because those were done so well.
Yeah. The little girl that he's comforting, I was actually the one that got the footage on set in Detroit, Michigan, where he saves that little girl. Next up, we go to the Batcave, so I'm sure a lot of people were excited to see some stuff in the Batcave, and we get Alfred and Bruce kind of debating some things about Superman preemptive strike against Superman. So what did you make of the stuff that you saw in the Batcave and then the interactions with Alfred?
I thought it was good. I mean, we didn't get a lot of Jeremy Irons as Alfred, but he does look a little different than the Alfreds we've seen before. And we know that he's a really good actor, so I got a lot of faith in him. But it's kind of just building on what we've seen in that earlier scene of why he would be so angry over what happened and why he would try and stop Superman. And you can see Alfred already kind of laying the seeds of, well, what are you going to do? And, you know, later there's that he's not our enemy and all that kind of stuff. So it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think they're really handling it well. This is one of the reasons that I'm so excited, which is they're giving Batman reasons that he needs to take down Superman. But they're also kind of saying those reasons, if you dig down into them, are not really that justified. And Alfred is kind of the voice of reason, saying, no, he's not your enemy. And Batman is kind of saying, like, well, if Superman decided to, he could enslave mankind, or he could destroy humanity.
Yeah.
And Alfred's, though, saying, like, but he hasn't done that yet.
That's
you know,
right.
so, like, you're going to just kind of preemptively take him down because someday he might turn into a despot or, you know, turn evil.
Yeah.
And to me, the thing that's ironic is that Batman is saying, oh, Superman, we have to, you know, beware of him because he could turn evil. But I would say that Batman is actually the one that is making that turn. Batman is the one that's actually kind of slipping, and his rage and his guilt and all of these issues that he has are actually allowing him to be the one that's turning sort of evil, not completely evil.
Yeah, I think that works really well. It's going to play off probably the duality between the characters, and hopefully something else happens too that, you know, we haven't seen yet to kind of make, you know, the fight happen. Maybe in a typical superhero or comic book type thing, these guys would kind of talk each other down after a little bit, but maybe something else will happen to escalate it between them as well.
Yeah, and I think that Batman's going to have a really good arc where I think Batman's going to be going down this dark path, but I think he's going to kind of like pull himself out of it by the end. I think by the end he's going to kind of realize, like, wow, I was kind of prejudging Superman, and I really had my own issues that I was like projecting onto Superman. So I think he will, you know, kind of come out of that dark, murky stuff by the end.
Yeah.
And I think that Superman might play a part in helping pull him out, or maybe Diana as well, because we see Bruce and Diana having some interactions.
It's probably going to be one of those things where Batman's going to look at how many people died in the destruction of Metropolis, but then maybe they'll start talking about how many people Superman saved by being there too.
Yeah. And that's one thing too that a couple things that kind of confirm what we were hoping to see. One is Superman doing some heroics. So he saved some people from a burning building. It looks like he's going to save some people from a flood, although I think it's weird that Superman's floating there instead of actually coming right down and helping them. But then also saving the launch rocket where there's the explosion, and he pulls like the capsule off to save them. We also see Clark Kent as an investigative journalist investigating Batman in that scene with Perry White, and that was also something both of us said we hope to see. Like Clark Kent digging around and trying to find out about Batman would be cool.
Yeah, hopefully there's more of that, not just a few little scenes like that.
Yeah. Now let's go to the Ma Kent scene, because there's been a lot of discussion about this one.
They're kind of going a different route than the Superman movies did, that Donner did, where after his dad died, Ma Kent always was like, the way he raised you and we raised you, you know the right thing is to do. This one, she's kind of leaving it up to Superman to decide. She's like, you can do whatever you want. You can save them all or you can leave them all. You don't owe people anything. And it's really up to him to make this decision for himself. And I think it's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah. And I don't take it to be flippant, or I take it to be like you said. It's just like she's just helping Clark realize that he needs to make the choice.
Yeah.
She's not just telling him, like, oh, it's obvious what the choice is. Like, no, it's not obvious. And I think that's the same way in Man of Steel with Pa Kent. You know, when they were talking about saving the bus, and he said, like, well, maybe you don't save the bus. He's not just saying, like, oh, it's obvious what you should do. Pa Kent is, like, there with Clark and saying, like, you know what? There's going to be some hard choices, and I'm here for you. I'm here with you. I'm not just going to tell you what the answer is, but I'm here with you to realize that you're going to have these tough choices. And I think they're continuing that now with Ma Kent taking that same role. So, and to me, the way I read it was her saying, you know, when she says, you don't owe these people anything, it's not in this way of saying, like, you know, you don't owe them anything, they're jerks. It's like in this way of saying, you don't owe it to them, but if you do want to be their hero, that means you're kind of doing it as a gift to them. not because you're paying a debt. You're just doing it as a gift because you think it's the right thing to do. The next big thing is we see Zod's face. So what did you think of Zod's body there?
Yeah, this is an interesting thing because I think in another part of the trailer I actually saw kryptonite too. So at first I thought maybe instead of kryptonite they're going to use Zod's body somehow to hurt Superman. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to make him kind of like a version of Bizarro or something like that. Obviously it looks like Lex has him, so maybe it's just something that Lex is doing to research Kryptonians and find out their weaknesses.
Yeah, I think it is Mercy Graves, I think, that's like transporting the body. So I think Luthor has Zod and Kryptonite. So yeah, I think Kryptonite might be to like weaken Superman or something. Yeah. Zod, like you said, might be research. Yeah, it could play into the DNA, could play into Doomsday. Maybe it plays into Bizarro. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with it. Yeah. People are also speculating about maybe Lex Luthor somehow gets mind control over Superman. I'm not a huge fan of like mind control stories, but there were a couple images where Superman was like just a little bit off, and so I wondered if there is some sort of influence being exerted over him, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could be. It's got a lot of potential. I like things like this because we don't know what's going to happen, and that's okay. I want to have some surprises in the movie.
Yeah, I think, and that's another great thing. So 2 great things about this trailer out of many. One is, I thought it was great how they took things from the first trailer that was really just a tease, and they took a lot of those same lines of dialogue and put them into context so we could kind of see a little bit more of where they were coming from. Yeah. Another thing that I thought was great about this trailer was it fills in a lot of things about like Batman's motivation, but it still doesn't really give us anything about the second half of the movie. Like, we still don't know anything about what the big bad, the big threat to Earth is. So true. I think they're walking the line nicely there. Yeah. All right, so we have first images of Wonder Woman, so we got to talk about this.
Yeah, I thought she looked really good. We didn't see tons going on still, like to explain why she's there. Like maybe this thing with the Senate and Superman being like a threat is something that reaches all the way to where she is, and they start to look at him as a worldwide threat, so that's why she gets involved. So I want to see what's going on there. I like the parts with showing her with Bruce Wayne. That kind of adds a nice twist to it. If Batman can't take down Superman, maybe he can take him down with Wonder Woman. So it's got a lot of potential as well.
Yeah, I thought the brief little glimpses that we got, I thought it was cool to actually see, wow, Wonder Woman's going to be on the big screen. Yeah. I thought she looks pretty good from just the little bits that we can see, but you're right, we don't really know a lot about how she fits in, which I think is probably good at this point. I really think the main goal of this trailer was to explain a little bit more about Batman's motivations, because a lot of people that aren't into this stuff as much as you and I are, they're still like confused, like why is Batman fighting Superman? They're both heroes. So I think with this trailer they wanted to just give some of the reasons that Batman might have. And then they throw a taste of Wonder Woman in there, but we didn't really get development of Wonder Woman, you know, which we shouldn't in a trailer at this point.
That's true.
This far out from the movie.
You got
it. Another small little thing that I thought was great, and that I'm sure you probably caught, was the tribute to the Dark Knight Returns cover. Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to get your thoughts on was Lex Luthor.
It's funny, he's almost like a more menacing version of the Gene Hackman one. Like, we never see him without the hair. People are complaining about that. I'm hoping that the whole movie doesn't just have him with the hair and then he loses his hair due to an accident and blames Superman, because that was in one of the comics, and it's kind of a lame reason to be Superman's like nemesis. Yeah. So hopefully they don't go that way. But I mean, I can't really complain too much about what he's doing there. They haven't shown a lot, and he's obviously not going to be physically threatening to Superman, so it seems like they're playing up that he's going to be messing with him somehow, whether it's emotionally or using science or all his money, and that's kind of what Lex Luthor does.
Yeah, I think it's going to be science and industry, and then I think it's going to be these like manipulations behind the scenes. So like he has this, you know, meeting with the senator. I think he's definitely pulling a lot of strings. I think he's trying to like stir up the population against Superman. Yeah. And I think Lex Luthor wants to be like the alpha dog. So again, this is kind of like what we were both hoping for, which is in Man of Steel, Superman chooses Earth and humanity, and now in Batman v Superman, Earth, basically these very powerful humans are trying to now duke it out with Superman, like who's going to be the alpha dog. Yeah. I liked Lex Luthor. I think it's great that he's kind of this frail person, because I think the contrast is really strong. But I think he's manipulative. I think he's sarcastic. And the red capes are coming. I thought that line was really great, because it shows Lex Luthor he's not really concerned about an invasion of red capes. But he's saying it in the sarcastic way of saying, like, I know how to rile up the public to get scared of this invasion of red capes, and I'm going to use that to my own advantage for whatever his power play is.
Yeah, I like that line as well. It was pretty good.